The woman's name was originally Hong Zaiwen. As a child, her family was massacred due to a sudden tragedy, and she escaped only because her father fought with his life. Now she goes by the name Hong Deok-soo and lives with her foster mother in the countryside, making a living from a tavern. Despite being constantly wanted, she always had a dream to work at the renowned Ryongcheon Tower, a palace situated opposite the royal palace, known as Korea's premier inn. The inn offers everything imaginable, with unimaginable luxury. Even desires to wear royal robes and dine like a king are fulfilled here, provided one can afford the supreme services. The staff here are judged solely on their skills, not their origins, and Deok-soo's goal is to become the head of this establishment. Therefore, she went to a gambling den, targeted a gambler named Big Beard, and quickly made him lose everything. However, Deok-soo's aim was not the money. She hinted that he could gamble with other items, and in his desperation, Big Beard brought out his boss's entry exam pass for Ryongcheon Tower. Seeing her chance, Deok-soo boldly wagered all her stakes to win this entry right. Even when the man rolled 2 5s, Deok-soo casually rolled 2 6s and won the bet. As she was about to take the exam pass, Big Beard grabbed her leg, begging her to let him go, claiming his boss would kill him. But Deok-soo, having won the prize, wouldn't give it up. So she tossed the money she had won to the other gamblers, who scrambled for it, distracting Big Beard long enough for her. Just then, soldiers burst in for an inspection, and Deok-soo seized the moment to slip away, eventually escaping over the low courtyard wall. However, she underestimated Big Beard. He caught her friend a short distance away, hoping to exchange him for the certificate. Deok-soo had to compromise temporarily to save her friend's life. As her friend escaped, Deok-soo used her clothing to cover Big Beard, then grabbed her friend and tried to run away. But Big Beard caught them again. She told her friend to leave while she rolled to the wall and kicked Big Beard down. Then the chase began. After running through several streets and alleys, Deok-soo almost collided with someone at a corner. Luckily, the person dodged, but ended up embracing Big Beard and lost the person he was tracking. Meanwhile, Deok-soo and Big Beard fiercely fought over the exam certificate, attracting the attention of Lee Yoon-ho. After seeing the certificate, Lee Yoon-ho mistakenly thought they were from Ryongcheon Tower. Deok-soo quickly explained they were apprentices about to join, and the certificate was their registration proof. In Lee Yoon-ho's eyes, people from Ryongcheon Tower were lawless and disruptive, part of a treasonous group. But Deok-soo wasn't concerned with such principles. She had her own reasons for needing to get in. Compared to Lee Yoon-ho, who threatened people with a sword at midnight, Ryongcheon Tower seemed more honorable. Lee Yoon-ho gave them a fair chance by tearing the certificate in half and distributing it equally between them before stylishly turning away. Not long after, Lee Yoon-ho returned to the palace and immediately saw a palanquin. He then held his sword against the person inside, who was the owner of Ryongcheon Tower. Although a businessman, he disregarded the law by entering the palace without orders and wore a dragon-patterned robe, yet the king could do nothing about it. However, Lee Yoon-ho made a request to learn the business methods of Ryongcheon Tower. Although the king opposed it, Lee Yoon-ho, as a prince, had his duties. Before the king could agree, the owner interrupted Lee Yoon-ho's proposal, stating that even if the king agreed, Lee Yoon-ho would have to start as an apprentice, because the rule at Ryongcheon Tower is that everyone, regardless of background, must undergo hardships and work their way up from the bottom. After the owner left, Lee Yoon-ho explained his purpose was to help alleviate his father's worries, and also inquired about what was hidden there that caught his father's attention. It turned out that the king was merely a puppet, manipulated by powerful courtiers, who all shared one weakness: hidden accounts. Only by finding these could one have a chance to eliminate those who scorned royal authority. The king then produced a scroll detailing a brass key that could be assembled, which was the key to the vault containing the hidden accounts. It turned out that the owner of Ryongcheon Tower had one such key and was searching for another. Thus, Lee Yoon-ho gladly accepted the challenging task to protect the royal family's honor. On the other side, although Lee Yoon-ho had torn up Deok-soo's certificate, she found a way. The next day, she went to the market, found similar red paper in a general store, and recreated the certificate based on the damaged one, then stamped it with a forged seal. The next day, Deok-soo entered Ryongcheon Tower, where not only were there many people, but they also followed the rules and queued orderly. However, some, feeling entitled, not only cut in line but also freely assaulted others, with even the staff of Yongcheon Tower bowing to them. Deok-soo, disliking those who flout the rules, cleverly advised another noblewoman. This act was witnessed by Yongcheon Tower's manager. Soon after, a lady of the mansion suffered from greed-induced stomach trouble. Deok-soo had observed that her constitution was unsuitable for condensed milk, which the noblewoman deceitfully claimed was missing from an employee's serving tray to seize it for herself. Ignoring the employee's protests, the lady poured herself a full cup. The manager, learning of this, began to see potential in Deok-soo. When registration time came, Deok-soo's chances were slim due to her forged certificate. However, she was lucky. The person behind her had too many packages, exceeding the allowed limit. They struck a deal. She would carry a package in exchange for half of the food inside. Deok-soo discreetly handed a bag of high-quality food to the inspector during certificate verification and smoothly entered the examination hall. Once inside, she faced a new challenge. All apprentices were ordered to quickly change uniforms and assemble in the courtyard. As Deok-soo was disguised as a man, she had to dodge around and look for a hiding place. Just as she was about to change, Lee Yoon-ho spotted her and ran over to peek, startling Deok-soo, who yelled at him for being a pervert. He tried to grab her clothes, but thankfully Cheon Junhwa intervened in time to temporarily halt Lee Yoon-ho's actions. However, Cheon Junhwa wore the wrong clothes, causing Go Soo-ra's uniform to fit poorly, so he too joined the fray, resulting in the four of them getting tangled together. Coincidentally, the teaching master and the manager noticed that several people had not assembled and came to the same location. Deok-soo had entered Yongcheon Tower to confront Jue Meihua, who had destroyed her family and killed her father during her childhood. Now grown up, Deok-soo, disguised as a man, infiltrated Yongcheon Tower, but Meihua did not recognize her. Instead, impressed by Deok-soo's intelligence, Meihua instructed the teaching master to train her well. However, due to the fight that broke out during the registration, the teaching master planned to punish those involved. Yet, Deok-soo and Go Soo-ra were victims, so punishing them was unjustified, and Cheon Junhwa, being the young master, was untouchable. This left only Lee Yoon-ho. Suddenly remembering that Lee Yoon-ho was a relative of someone important, the teaching master let the matter slide. Nevertheless, to maintain authority, he imposed a rule that apprentices could not speak casually. He then tricked Go Soo-ra into speaking, deducting 2 points. The master then took the apprentices on a tour, describing the purposes of various halls from the main hall for welcoming guests to the Lotus Hall for tea, the wedding hall designed for marriages, and the Peach Blossom Hall for beauty and massage, showcasing the luxury and service level of Yongcheon Tower. For accommodations, there was the Red Intent Pavilion for ordinary travelers, the Clear Intent Pavilion for businessmen, and the top-tier Golden Intent Pavilion, which had to meet all guest requests, even if they wished to be king. Hearing this, Lee Yoon-ho angrily considered such indulgence a treasonous offense. Deok-soo was pleased to see Lee Yoon-ho make mistakes, hoping to settle her grudge about her ruined certificate. Other apprentices thought Lee Yoon-ho was unreasonable, but the teaching master initially tried to explain calmly. However, Lee Yoon-ho insisted that no one should casually discuss the king, which infuriated the teacher who wanted to discipline this connected apprentice. Fortunately, Cheon Junhwa intervened in time to prevent Lee Yoon-ho's punishment. However, due to the fight that erupted among Lee Yoon-ho and the others on their first day, the teacher specifically assigned them to the lower employee dormitory for easier management of the apprentices. They were also required to sew their student numbers directly onto their clothing. The four then began their dormitory life together. Unlike the others, Lee Yoon-ho was completely unfamiliar with needlework, struggling for a long time without success. He quietly went to the courtyard, sending a unique signal to summon his guard. He had the guard sketch the brass key to confirm his suspicions, as his purpose here was to find the key held by the owner. However, he incidentally saw another key that seemed to be on Deok-soo. Remembering his real mission, Lee Yoon-ho prepared to return to the dormitory, but saw Deok-soo sneakily climbing into a courtyard wall. Upon closer inspection, it was the female employee's dormitory. Lee Yoon-ho secretly followed her. It turned out Deok-soo had climbed in just to take a bath. When 2 female employees suddenly appeared, Lee Yun-ho rushed up and took her away. However, he covered her too tightly, preventing her from breathing, and Deok-soo pushed him down, coincidentally behind some flowers. As Lee Yun-ho was about to sneeze, Deok-soo grew nervous. To avoid being expelled, Lee Yun-ho hugged her, easing the unbearable itching sensation. After the female employees left, Deok-soo hoped they would keep each other's secrets to avoid dismissal. Unbeknownst to her, Big Beard, with whom she had fought over the certificate, had been killed, still clutching the other half of it. The next day, Big Beard's mother filed a complaint with the authorities, hoping to severely punish the murderer. Since Big Beard was merely holding the certificate for someone else, the old woman believed that the person who stole the other half was definitely the killer. Mei-hua quickly reported to the owner that someone might have forged the stolen certificate to infiltrate Ryongcheon Tower. The owner, pleased with the tower's reputation, instructed Mei-hua to find the murderer as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the apprentices from the upper rooms mocked those from the lower rooms, flaunting their superior status, which irked Deok-soo and her companions. Lee Yun-ho suggested settling the matter with a dice game. If they won, they would move to the upper rooms. If they lost, they would voluntarily leave the school. He insisted that Deok-soo participate. Deok-soo then began training her companions, aiming for a best-of-5 victory to earn their place in the upper rooms. Unknown to them, Mei-hua had summoned 3 department heads to verify the certificates. The authenticity was difficult to determine until the food minister neatly arranged all certificates and released a group of ants. He had added honey to the ink used for the certificates to identify fakes when necessary. Soon, it was discovered that only Deok-soo's certificate had no ant bites. Meanwhile, the dice game reached a critical point with the score tied at 2-all. Deok-soo needed to win the final round, which would normally be easy for her. However, Lee Yun-ho, suspecting that Deok-soo had the key he was looking for hidden in her lining, suggested removing their clothes to prevent cheating. Deok-soo refused to let him succeed and seized the opportunity to escape the dormitory. Just then, Mei-hua arrived at the dormitory with the disciplinary department head and immediately noticed the student number on Deok-soo's clothing.